Greetings YouTube, this is Sixtus, and today I'm going to be showing you the deck profile of my Destiny Hero deck, beginning with the boss monsters. I won one copy of Dogma and one copy of Plasma. Both of them require 3 monsters to be tribute in order for them to be summoned, though Dogma specifically requires a Destiny Hero to be one of the 3 monsters. And with Plasma, it negates the effects of all other monsters on the field, and you can target a monster your opponent controls, equip it to this card, and it then gains attack equal to half the equipped monster's original attack. And given that its original attack is 1900, it can get really high up there. And Dogma has 3400 attack, so it doesn't really need any attack boosts. And during your opponent's next standby phase, if this card's still on the field, cut your opponent's life points in half. Very good for, yes, doing damage, basically. Next up, I won 2 copies of Dastral. Dastral is a level 6, so it's a tribute monster. And the effect is that it has 2100 attack, and you can tribute another monster you control to have this card gain 1000 attack, being up to 3100. But whenever it attacks, it switches to defense position afterwards. The more important aspect about this is the graveyard effect, which is once while it's in the graveyard, you can draw a monster during your draw phase. You can then reveal that monster and special summon it, which is good for gaining field presence. Next up, 2 copies of Melissus. Due to the ban list, we can only win 2. But it's still decent enough in the archetype. Next up, 2 copies of Dynatag. This is a level 5 with the effect that if you were to take battle damage, you can discard this. You discard this from your hand. You no longer take that damage, and both players take 1000 effect damage. Also, while this is in the graveyard, you can banish it to have a Destiny Hero you control gain 1000 attack. So, good for a little bit of protection and also increasing the damage output. So, next up we got Elemental Hero Stratos. Stratos, I'm sure everyone knows what it does. When it's summoned, you can add any hero from your deck to your hand. It has another effect where you can destroy spell trap cards on the field equal to the number of other hero monsters you control. So it can still work out pretty well with these Destiny Heroes, depending on field drawing, but the best part is as the consistency boost. Next up, 2 copies of Celestial. It is 16 on attack, and when it declares an attack, you can target a face-up spell card your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, it inflicts 500 damage, yep. And the other effect is that while this is in the graveyard, except the tornado is sent to the graveyard, you you have no cards in your hand, you can banish both this and another Destiny Hero from your graveyard to draw 2 cards. Next up, we got 3 copies of Drilled Arc. Drilled Arc has the effect that when it's summoned, you can special summon another Destiny Hero from your hand, which has attack equal to or less than its own. So, because it's 1600, you can pretty much summon everything except for the 2 big ones and Dashel. Next up, we got Destiny Hero Decidal. Decidal has the passive effect that any level 6 or higher monster cannot target this for attacks. Comes up occasionally, but it's one of the effects that you really forget about. And the reason I'm only 1 copy of it is because both its effects have the once per duel clause on them. So, during the turn you summon this, you can, during the end phase, return a hero from your graveyard to your hand. The other effect is that during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that would inflict damage to you, while this is in your graveyard, you can make that damage 0 and return it to your hand. Next up, for field drumming, we got 3 copies of Solid Sigil. Unmaterial Solid Sigil has the effect that on normal or upon normal summon only, you can special summon a level 4 lower hero monster from your hand. Additionally, if it's sent from the field to the graveyard by a spell effect, you can special summon a hero from your graveyard in face-up defense position. So, let's say you summon this, use the effect, summon Stratos, you get the effect of Stratos, and then you use them for a fusion summon. You can then use the effect to bring back the Stratos you just sent there, so you can use the effect again, because if I'm correct, there is no once per turn clause on Stratos. Another good target for Solid Man summoning, Solid Sigil I mean, is Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. As when it's special summon, you can add a mask. You can basically just add a mask chains to your hand from your deck. Also, if it's, you can only use one of the effects per turn, but the other effect is that you can, if this is sent to the graveyard, add a hero from your deck to your hand. Just hero. It's very versatile. Next up, we got Vision Hero Vion. With Vion, when it's normal special summoned, you can send one hero monster from your deck to the graveyard. Good for setting up, basically it's a Foolish Burial, while still being a monster. And the other effect is that you can banish, is it specifically a hero? Yeah, specifically a hero monster from your graveyard to add a Polymerization to your hand. So, a very good Polymerization Sigil. Next up, Disc Commander. I'm sure you know that the errata makes it far less usable. But there's also, I also run Dreamer, which has the effect that if a Destiny hero I control battles a monster, I can special summon this from the graveyard to have that monster not be destroyed by the battle, and also I take no damage from that battle. The main reason I won these two is because they're level 1, meaning that over Destiny, which states that you can target a monster in your, well, a Destiny hero in your graveyard, then special summon from your deck a Destiny hero with a level that's less than or equal to half that targeted monster's level. Because those are 1s, every other card can bring it out. And because the 2 boss monsters are level 8, those could bring out any level 4 if they're in the graveyard. Next up, because this is a fusion heavy deck, I won 3 copies of Polymerization because, yeah, Destiny heroes have their own fusion card, but it's a trap card and it's not nearly as usable. Next up, we got Reinforcements of the Army. Very simple. Yes, use it. Add any of the warrior monsters to your hand. Again, that's pretty much the entire deck. Speaking of consistency, Destiny draw. Discard a Destiny hero from your hand, then draw 2 cards. Sets up the graveyard, sets up the hand. That's really simple. Next up, Monster Reborn. It's back at 1. Why not 1 it? And because I tend to prefer main decking spell trap removal, just in case, I have 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. Next up, 3 copies of Masked Chains to bring out the Masked Heroes. Last part of the deck is 2 copies of Destiny Signal because I still really like the card. It does help maintain field presence, though due to being a trap card it's a little bit slow. Now, as far as the extra deck, we have Extra Hero Wonder Driver. Takes 2 hero monsters, and if a hero monster is no more special summon to the zone that this card points to, which would be right below it, you can add a Polymerization spell card, a Fusion spell card, or a Change Quick Play spell card from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, wait, no, not to your hand. It sets it back to the field. Which is actually not too good for the quick plays. So yeah, the main thing is that you can just keep on recycling your fusion spells. And the other effect is that if this card is sent from your field to the graveyard by an opponent's card by battle or card effect. Doesn't really matter. You can special summon a hero from your hand, and does it special position? No, it does not. So you can either special summon an attack or defense position, whatever you prefer. And because of that, any card that would be beneficial to special summon, such as Shadow Mist, very good ones to have in your hand just in case. Next up, we got Extra Hero Dread Decimator. This has a much worse effect because it and the heroes it points to gain, was it just 100 attack? Yep, just 100 attack for each hero monster in the graveyard with a different name. Also, it can deal piercing damage. The effect isn't really that good, it's just the fact that there's 3 arrows pointing down. Next up, we got 2 copies of Destiny Hero Dangerous. This takes a Destiny Hero monster and a Dark Effect monster. So, good way to get Shadow Mist into the graveyard. The effect is you can, once per turn, discard a card from your hand, send a Destiny Hero from your deck to the graveyard, and all your Destiny Heroes gain, how stack? I want to say 200. Yep, 200. For each Destiny Hero in your graveyard. Again, bit of an emphasis on the attack values, similar to the Extra Hero, but still very useful for graveyard setup. And then we have Dark Law to stop any of your opponent's graveyard setup. And also to make it so that whenever they add cards to their hand, other than drawing them during the draw phase, they have to have one of the cards randomly banished from their hand. Also, 400 attack, not bad. Next up, 1 copy of Vision Hero Trinity. Takes 3 hero monsters, and during a turn it's fused and summoned, its attack becomes double, bringing it to 5,000 attack, and it can attack 3 times, it just cannot attack directly. Next up, we got Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Takes 2 dark monsters from the field, pretty much everything in the deck except for Solid Soldier and Stratos are dark, so pretty simple. There's 3 effects to it as well. If this is fusion summoned, you can make this card gain attack equal to another special monster on the field that your opponent controls. The other thing is that you can target a level 5 or higher monster on the field. This card's name and effect gets replaced with that monster's until the end phase, of course. And the other effect is that if this is destroyed, you destroy all special monsters on the field. Next up, 2 copies of Dystopia. Takes 2 Destiny Hero monsters, and when this is special summoned, you can target a hero in your graveyard and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. However, because the restriction is has to be a level 4 or lower Destiny Hero, you're just going to be dealing 1600 damage most of the time. And if its current attack value is different from its original, you can have it go back to normal and target and destroy 1 card on the field. So good for spot removal. Next up we got Anki. This one has drained on attack and it can declare a direct attack. However, if it does it by its own effect, the opponent takes half the damage from that battle. And also, if this card destroys a monster and sends it to the graveyard, you can add a Mass Chains to your hand. Also, 1 copy of Adoration. Vision Hero Adoration, yes, takes any 2 hero monsters, so it's pretty much always viable. And once per turn, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and 1 hero monster you control other than that itself. The opponent's monster loses attack equal to your hero monster. big emphasis on attack variation, which is actually very good with Dystopia. And here's the Dusttopia, speaking of Dystopia. This one takes a Destiny Hero fusion monster and one Destiny Hero monster. You're not going to summon this too often. But its effect is if this card is fusion summoned, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from... How many times does it say fusion in one sentence? From your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. And once per turn, quick effect, you can target one monster on the field, and it is now unable to be destroyed by battle or card effects, and neither player takes damage from battles involving it. Up next, we got Destiny Hero Dragoon. This is the one that's fused using Dogma and Plasma, and its effect is that it can only be summoned with those materials. Can't be summoned by other ways. Except for its own effect, that is. You can target one monster that your opponent controls, destroy that target, and if it was face up, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack it had on the field. Not the original attack, and not half the attack. The entire attack it had while on the field. And also, during your standby phases, if this card is in your graveyard, you can bounce a Destiny Hero from your graveyard to special this to the field. So yeah, that's my Destiny Hero deck. It's more just because I actually was a fan of Astor during the GX series. So everything's just based around the initial boss monsters and bringing out all the fusions. Anyway, that's all for this time. Bye.